On today's episode of SNHU Explains, we sit down with Emma LaRue. She's a web analyst here at SNHU. We talk about everything from her start in gaming and how video games have changed to how much more women are involved in the gaming industry today. So stay tuned. Welcome to SNHU Explains.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
This is our first in-person one too, so this is really cool to get a chance to talk to you.
Yeah.
And to start off, we're going to start really easy. Can you just introduce yourself and your role here at SNHU?
Yeah, my name is Emma LaRue. I work in the web optimization team as a web analyst. I have been at SNHU for 6 years now.
Nice. So today we're talking about video games, which is a super cool topic, and in particular women in gaming. And just to start off a little bit about you, what initially sparked your interest in gaming?
So from a very young age, my parents always had computers in our household. So around 3 or 4 years old, they started getting me computer games, and it just kind of blossomed from there.
What were some of the early games you were playing on the PC?
On the PC, I had a very old Lion King game that was a lot of fun. Like the old school Barbie PC games as well. Those were a lot of fun.
Oregon Trail.
Yep.
When you think about who you engaged with early on as a gamer, do you feel unique as a girl playing these games?
Early on, I didn't. As I got older, things kind of changed, though, and I started to notice that I was a little bit different from what the typical gamer stereotype would be.
And as your love of gaming grew, were there particular genres or types of games that you gravitated to?
Yes. I've always loved racing games, Mario Kart in particular, adventure games, life simulators like Animal Crossing. That was a big favorite growing up.
Yep.
And then, of course, you have your classic side-scrolling platforms like Super Mario, and then browser-based games as well.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time on Neopets.
That's nice. Yeah, when COVID happened, I feel like Animal Crossing blew up once again. I had never played before, and I got it for the Switch.
Yes.
And I really like it. And then I feel like The Sims was a huge game when I was younger, too.
Yep. Oh, I love The Sims, too.
My all-time favorite, sorry, just got to nerd out for a second. Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2. One of my favorite PC games ever. So
yeah,
they bring those back someday. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on how female characters are represented in games. Has this evolved over time? And if so, how?
When you think of female characters in games, there's this, classic damsel in distress sort of thing, going to rescue the princess in the castle. I would say that's definitely changed while games of that style still exist. There are a lot more games with prominent female characters that you can play as that are more of the main character and not the person being rescued, so to speak.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what role do you think women are playing in shaping the gaming industry today?
Today, in my experience, there are definitely a lot more women in the gaming industry, being able to contribute as programmers, artists, and creating stories for the games. It's really cool to see how things have changed over time.
Yeah, it's very cool. So these days, what games really stand out to you as your favorite and why? I know this is kind of a hard question.
Lately, being back into PC gaming, I've had a lot of fun getting to play survival games, mostly with my friends and my partner. So we spend a lot of time doing that together.
Nice. And which games in particular of that genre?
The ones that we've played so far, Stranded Deep, The Forest, and Valheim was a lot of fun. We beat all of the updates so far available for Valheim, and then now we're playing Grounded.
Nice. Are those all on PC, or are there some on Nintendo?
I believe some of them are cross-platform.
Cool. So what is it about gaming that appeals to you most?
It's just the immersion and getting to experience a different world, kind of like you would with reading or watching a show or a movie, but it's interactable.
So what skills have you acquired through your gaming experience, and how do they translate into the rest of your life, especially your career?
Definitely a lot of problem solving and critical thinking when you think of all the puzzles that a lot of these games entail. And then also a lot of teamwork and communication too, especially in, co-op multiplayer games.
Yeah, the survival games sound kind of stressful, actually.
They kind of are, but it's exciting. It's a fun challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my brother, he could be doing this because he's into so many strategy-based games. Right now, though, he's into Flight Simulator.
Oh, yes.
He's into it. He's been doing it most of his life, but he's got the actual pilot flight and stuff. And he's we sit behind him.
Right. He has a pilot setup.
Yes.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Too. Yeah. So can you tell me how your degree in graphic design plays into gaming?
Yeah. I've always had an interest in both. I would say graphic design, it really sparked for me while I was actually playing Neopets. So I don't know how familiar a lot of people are with it, but at the time, you were able to edit the HTML on certain pages. So, when I was a child, I was teaching myself how to do HTML and CSS coding because of their website, and they had instructions on how to do it. So from there, I started learning about, MS Paint, Photoshop, being able to save graphics, uploading them to, file hosting sites, things like that. So learning that, game design was also a possible industry to get into. I was able to actually take a class at a vocational school while I was in high school. So for 2 years, I did study game design. So both have always kind of been entwined for me.
Cool. So like that early love of just gaming actually transitioned into like school and a career afterwards. So I feel like the narrative is like changing around video games now, where I feel like when I was younger, people are like, oh, they're like a waste of time. Like, okay. Right. Considered something you do like when you have free time, but now they're actually useful. And also esports in general is like a massive industry now.
Yeah. And when I started studying game design, people were saying to me, oh, you're just playing video games in class, right? And it's a huge misconception.
Yeah, definitely. Have you been over to the esports arena on campus?
I did. I had toured it sometime last year, actually. Yeah. It's a really cool space.
Cool. Yeah, we actually got to sit in on one of their matches. It was like, it's like a normal sporting event. Like there was crowd, like people cheering, and I think
that's so cool.
SNHU was actually down for a while, and they came back in the match and won. So it was like, it was crazy though.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very cool. So shout out to the SNHU esports team. So what would people be surprised to know about women in gaming?
I would say that there's a lot of stereotypes out there, and that women in gaming, we can all look a certain way, right? You would probably think that a woman who is into video gaming probably isn't as much into makeup, fashion, things of that nature. But it's everybody's multifaceted. So, stereotypes can be problematic at times.
Yeah, definitely. So that was all the questions I had about gaming in general. I'm going to kind of shift gears here and talk more about SNHU and the degree.
Sure.
So what led you to pursue and earn a degree in graphic design and media arts? We kind of already touched on it, but if you can just kind of reiterate.
Yeah. So spending time on websites like Neopets and learning HTML and CSS coding, and then also spending a lot of time in Photoshop and drawing, I just really got drawn into that creative side of graphic design. So being able to pursue that, and then also being inspired by great teachers that I did have, that I wanted to go to college. So I was able to actually start at a community college and then transfer into the SNHU main campus.
Very cool. So, that transition was like pretty easy to do.
Yeah, it was wonderful. All of my credits were accepted. I was able to finish, I'd say, about the second half of my program.
That's awesome. Yeah, when you talk about learning HTML through Neopets, it reminds me of MySpace. When I used to do like the HTML backgrounds, like we were coding, we didn't know it at the time.
Right, exactly.
So what do you wish you knew before you started your graphic design degree?
I wish I had known that a big component of it would be being able to accept constructive criticism and not taking it personally when somebody has suggestions or something that needs to be changed about whatever you're working on.
Yeah, trust me, I know the feeling. As a video editor, I know that feeling very well. So you later switched to an MBA. What was the impetus for that decision?
So I wanted to learn more about, having a degree in graphic design and then also working in marketing. I wanted to have a little bit more background in a general, business sense, and also personal career advancement too.
Nice. So can you tell me about your role as a web analyst?
Yeah. So as a web analyst, and then being a member of the web optimization team in marketing, I'm actually in charge of building A and B split tests. So we test out different components on the website to help improve the user experience. And then we look at the results, we determine what changes need to be made, and then also voice of customer feedback, or also abbreviated as VOC feedback. Getting to see comments that are submitted to us and being able to come up with ways that we can improve the experience for everybody using our websites.
Very cool. I bet you get some interesting comments.
Yes.
What role has your education played in the work you do?
It informs everything that I get to do in my role. In order to build the tests, we do have to understand how HTML and CSS works, and then at times also JavaScript, which we have a wonderful web development team that's able to help us out with that part of the code. And understanding the design and being able to build these changes is very crucial in my role.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is Neopets helps you have your career today.
Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome. Are there any games coming out that you're very excited about that are not out yet?
Ooh, trying to remember what I saw recently. I'm not sure yet, although one thing on our list to play that just got released last month after being in early access was Sons of the Forest, which is a follow-up to The Forest. So we have our sights set on that one to try out next.
I have to try out some of the survival games. So as a woman in the gaming industry, where do you see the future of gaming going from here?
It's really cool to see that more people have a chance to be able to, create the sort of games that they would want to see, that they would have been able to play when they were growing up. So I'd say with the accessibility that we have in technology and education, that more people are able to learn how to make games. And it's, when we think of indie gaming, of course, too, a lot of great games can come out of these companies and not just, the huge, well-known companies.
Yeah. This might be a stupid question, but is indie gaming a new concept, or has that been around for a while?
I don't believe it's super new. I think the term is just to reference like any small creative project or studio where maybe it's just one person or, a handful of people developing a game together.
It's pretty cool to think about as technology progresses, like what a single person can do with creating a video game. Which is funny. I mentioned Roller Coaster Tycoon off the top. Those first two games were created by one guy. So I guess it's always kind of been a thing, but that's very cool.
Yeah.
So what advice do you have for women aspiring to pursue careers in game art and development?
I would say that no matter what people may try to say to deter you or make you feel like you don't belong, you need to continue paving the way for yourself and chase your dreams and pursue what you want to pursue, regardless of what people are trying to say that you should be doing.
Yeah, that's just great advice for life in general.
Yes.
If someone is thinking about a career in gaming, what is the first step someone should take?
I would say, if not already, start researching professionals and connecting with them on LinkedIn and see what they would have to offer for advice, or even just building those connections so that you understand what the field entails and how you can go about pursuing, appropriate degree programs or any sort of secondary education.
Very cool. And I think that's all I had. Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we get to talk to you again. And I'm going to check out some of those games that you mentioned. And
yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.